Hey guys, so when I saw this topic that they kind of asked us to do, I thought, thank you for giving me the depressing one. It's been an interesting year, and it definitely reminds me of that saying where you say, "May we live in interesting times," because we kind of started off the ecosystem just in the most FOMO state I've ever seen an emerging market ever be. We had multiple unicorns being minted. We had $5 billion put into the ecosystem. Quite frankly, founders became a real pain in the ass. Like if you ask them 3 questions without giving them a check, they got very aggressive. So we started off this year in a hyper FOMO market, and then for reasons that have absolutely nothing to do with Africa, everything changed. We've had multiple down rounds. We've had founders learn what the word unit economics and profitability means. And we've also seen some sad stories. We've got Sky Garden, who was a big part of the iHub family. Unfortunately, they closed. They were a fantastic team. And I think the timing really hit them at the worst possible time. So when things were going super positive, I wasn't really buying into it. And I'm not really buying into the negative story now. But we are lucky that we have 4 active GPs who are actively investing in the continent. And I thought it'd be a really good opportunity to let people on the ground really explain how they see the world. So I think I'll let you all do a brief introduction of who you are, and then we'll take it from there. So I'll start with Bruce here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Hi, everyone. My name is Bruce. I'm general partner at $258 million, and then by kind of support networks, business expertise, and funding required to get our companies to so we provide $5 million follow-on. Apart from that, previously I was the second principal at Sudaya Capital, helped set up the capital fund. It's done very well. And I'm a proud African. Love business, love entrepreneurship, and love creative relationships. So, thank you.
Hello. Thanks, Bruce. Hi, everyone. My name is Hippo Patel. I work with Mercycore Ventures, which is a early stage pre-seed to Series A company, a fund that's investing in high impact enterprises fueling growth on the continent. We've recently released our thesis, so please go take a look and give feedback or criticism. But overall, it's a climate lens in our key sectors, which is around agtech and fintech. But we've also added in some other areas around sustainable supply chains, logistics, analytics, and a few other areas. As Bruce mentioned, we also have a pretty robust post-investment platform that does and helps fuel growth with our portfolio companies.
Hi, everyone. My name is Winnie. I'm the investment director and fund manager of Bamboo Capital Partners, specifically their technology fund. It's called BlockSmart Africa. And we are a Pan-African focused impact fund. We invest in technology businesses between the seed stage up to Series A. And in terms of quantum of capital, that's 300,000 euros up to 1.5 million. We invest across different verticals, from fintech to agtech, edtech, smart cities, and the other fintech, edtech, smart cities, agtech. And so we go in also in addition to the big kings, the big mature markets. We try and identify promising startups in much smaller markets. We've done investments in countries like Cameroon, Senegal, Ivory Coast, and also the bigger markets, Kenya and South Africa. And someone had asked a question earlier as to, what do such founders do? And the response to that is identify funds that actually focus on identifying businesses in those smaller markets. So we also, post-investment, we help try and support our portfolio companies through our networks, where we've got a couple of experts in different sectors, healthcare, ag, to help add value to the portfolio companies.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lavanya. I'm a principal at Vested World. We are also an early stage fund manager focused on East and West Africa. The primary markets in which we invest are Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, and then our secondary markets are Rwanda and Uganda. We invest between seed and Series A as well. As small checks as 50K all the way up to $1 million. Also provide follow-on financing into Series A and B rounds. We have about 25 companies in our portfolio today across the two regions. And yeah, looking forward to this conversation.
So before we jump into the questions, I know that some of my esteemed colleagues can be somewhat verbose. So if you see Brian waving at you, that means you've been talking too long. So he's the guy to keep an eye on. But for Bruce and Hital, the first question is, given the general doom and gloom, whilst at the same time we've probably got $500 million of dry powder on the continent, do you think that people are overreacting to the recent downturn?
I think it's an interesting conversation. If you look at the globe and the graph that Mike put on earlier, you can see venture capital investment generally on a global scale is reducing. But if you look at Africa and if you compare quarters to the previous year, actually what you're finding is it's increasing. And if you look at where VC was 5 years ago, we've increased by 10 times. So I still do feel that we're probably going to more money is going to be deployed this year than last year. I think we're on the trajectory to do that. Probably, maybe not to the level that was probably previously expected. But yeah, so I think in Africa, we're still a very tiny part of the venture capital market. We're 1%, I think, of the globe. There's massive room to expand. Some of the factors that Mike mentioned in terms of these markets growing and scaling in Africa are unique opportunities, and I think it's seen by global investors. I think probably what's happening now on the continent is that investors are being more picky, being tighter on things like valuations and so on, as later stage capital becomes more difficult to raise, as basically the West is going through tough economic times. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I have to. Yeah, so I think there's a few factors at play. There is dry powder, but because of the circumstances, people are going to be a bit more diligent, which I think you talked about earlier, and I think that's okay. I think that's good. I think it's a good feedback loop for founders and everyone in the ecosystem to actually try to build, and many people have said it earlier today, so like sustainable, scalable business models that actually have real world use cases. In the end, we are not, and I say we in the sense that I come from India, it's one of the global South markets are not the global North markets. We don't have the amount of capital markets that can bail out Uber and others when they don't, because then someone else will come in and basically, in crypto words, holding the bag. We actually have to build something that has some solutions that will attract private equity and other, even ideally local institutional money to invest, and that's where the exits are going to come from. So I think we have to be honest and not playing by other people's rules if we want to then understand what the adjustment should be to this type of market correction. So I think for that, I think that's one of the big pieces. And then, the doom and gloom, some of it's just media. When it's, a year and a half ago, everything was going to be a unicorn, and now everything's going to be horrible. Like, don't listen to them, right? We have to talk to the people who are actually doing the work and really grinding it out, as Mike said earlier, and really putting the work in. So I think there's some finding the balance, there's some keeping your head level-headed, and then some of it's actually understanding, are we playing by other rules that haven't even been proven out? VC in California is 30 years old. That's not an actual RCT proof case for what exists or what can work. And it's never been replicated in Europe. It's not been replicated anywhere else. So I'm wondering, why do we want to play by those rules versus understanding what works for the markets we work in?
Fantastic. So for Winnie and Lavanya, as you now look at deals in this market, and with the concerns on follow-on capital, how does that change how you think about stage, valuations, sector, and terms? And terms, I mean corporate governance, liquidity preferences. What are the things that you are focusing on now more than you may have been focusing on a year ago?
Thanks, Sam. So for us, I would say, so because we invest between seed and Series A, and maybe before I kind of dive in, I would say it is still probably easier to raise at the seed or earlier stages than it is at Series A plus. And I think that's just because there's still a lot of dry powder and capital available at those very early stages, whether it's from angel investors, pre-seed funds, seed funds, et cetera. Whereas, the investors that can write checks of, $2 million plus, that starts to dwindle very quickly. And over the last year or two, we were seeing a lot of capital come in from foreign markets who were able to write $5, $10, $15 million checks. However, a lot of those investors have retreated a bit and are focusing on their home markets. And so now, there is a dependence on Africa-focused investors to continue to fund those Series A, B rounds. So I think with that said, we continue to look at the seed and Series A, but I'd say there's less of a risk coming in at Series A because now there's a little bit more runway before they get to a coming in at seed versus before they get to a Series A stage, because we want to basically buy time for some of the larger investors to come back to the market. So I think that's one shift that we've done, is investing more earlier stage. At the same time, I would say, valuations are starting to come down, especially at those Series A stage or later. Like I said, because there's less capital available, I think founders can be less choosy in terms of the capital that they bring in. So we are starting to see some pressure there. And then, we've always had relatively lengthy diligence processes, so I don't know if that's necessarily changed. We're trying to get quicker and learn and be more efficient. But at the same time, we have tried not to forego diligence even when the market was very hot. So yeah, I'll pause there.
Yeah, for us, we have sort of realigned internally as a team to understand that the environment has actually changed. And of course, we stick to our investment thesis. We'll do what we did. We have an investment process. There's a framework we work from. But in terms of building pipeline and making the investments, we are now taking a very slow-paced approach and being super thorough in what we're doing. At the origination phase, for example, we're doing it in a much targeted way. So we're saying, let's relook at, if you're looking at fintech or health tech or ag tech, let's relook at that space and identify where exactly is the opportunity. And goes beyond that, where we are doing even more diligence before we take the deal, let's say, to our first committee, right? So what we do in post-investment, post-risk committee, that's the first step of presenting. We're actually doing it upfront. So now I'm saying, okay, I'm looking at a business in the SME lending space. I'm going to go and speak to the customers, distributor or retailer, and really understand what they see in the product and how it stacks against the other competitors. So we're taking a very targeted approach here, identifying really, really within fintech and SME lending, where exactly should we be. When it comes to the investment process, we're also doing a lot of collaborations with other co-investors. We've looked at a couple of deals with some in Lateral. I think even Heckel's done a deal as well together. We've looked at a deal together, not done one yet. We've co-invested with Vested World in one of the deals. So we try as much as possible and bring in other co-investors in the due diligence process and kind of just sound out, even if that means making a phone call and saying, what do you think of this company? So taking that extra step to just make sure that we've covered all grounds when it comes to due diligence. It won't be perfect, but I think that extra leg is actually required. When it comes to the terms, we're also trying to enforce more protective provisions. So, most funds will probably do 1 times liquidation preference. You'll see some funds targeting 1.5 to 2 times. You have other terms around redemption rights just to ensure that you have some form of liquidity as well. Tranche investments, so we're trying to look at how can we do tranche financing in some of the deals. At the portfolio level, when it comes to follow-on investments, it has to be, putting money, backing our winners. So again, just because we invested in a company doesn't mean we'll back the company on follow-on rounds. We'd rather reserve that capital and invest in a promising startup. So again, we look at the portfolio and say, can we now focus more on quality growth? Grow as you improve your margins, and also ensure that you keep an eye on your runway. So it's just, we're taking a different approach, more scrutiny and more thoroughness in how we invest as well as managing the portfolio.
Fantastic. And then for Bruce and Lavanya, as you work with your current portfolio, and especially guys you backed at seed and now you're climbing to Series A where that money may or may not be there, what advice are you giving them around growth versus margin, profitability versus cash? Like, how are those conversations moving in a scenario where the next round is not guaranteed?
Yeah, it's $1 million question. I think it's actually similar to how we approached our portfolio when COVID first hit. There was a lot of uncertainty around when that next funding round was going to come, how their revenues might be affected over the coming months. And so we're taking a similar approach to what we did in early 2020, which is coming up with different scenarios and helping our founders arrive at different scenarios. So there's a plan A, which is, raise X amount Series A, helping them get introduced to various investors who are still investing in Series A rounds. And then very quickly after having a very reasonable plan B and plan C and sometimes plan D, which include various scenarios where you can accelerate profitability so that you can extend your runway, potentially in some cases restructuring and restructuring certain teams that maybe are becoming redundant, or decreasing your expansion efforts to new markets so that you can, again, preserve runway as long as possible. And so those are the things that we are really focusing on. I think unit economics is always an important thing, but it's extremely important right now in terms of trying to preserve as much cash as possible, trying to extend that runway, trying to have a path to profitability to convince even the investors who are coming in these Series A rounds that, you're not going to run out of runway in the next 6 months and have to go out and raise again. So those are some of the things that we're doing with our portfolio. And then also just supporting them in bridge rounds where we can, especially for the top performers in the portfolio.
Cool, yeah. I agree a lot with what Lavanya said, and I think we deploy similar strategies. For us, we seek to really invest at that pre-Series A stage, being a lead. And therefore, as part of our investment plan and deployment, we want to ensure that our companies are operating in a way where they are achieving growth, but sustainably. We seek to be with our companies until Series B and provide them that follow-on financing. So for us, it's really about, from the get-go, building a sustainable business model that has, exit opportunities available, bringing on the right partners as we continue to scale, and still providing that necessary financing.
So I'm just keeping an eye on time. So for Hetal and Winnie, 1 minute each on this one. We were in Oxford discussing this actually, but how are you guys looking at non-dilutive financing to kind of complement your strategy?
So specifically for our fund, I know there are several options on non-dilutive financing. So, there's grants, there's venture debt, but there's also, I guess, TA can fall into that bucket. Either the LPs of your GPs actually provide TA facilities, or some GPs don't have that and they have to seek for some TA facility externally. So what we personally do is partner with TA facility providers and help support some of our startups, whether it means the business in Senegal trying to improve their technology platform to help them actually optimize on the margins when they're doing the distribution of fresh produce. So we try and bring in such non-dilutive capital and use our own capital to help scale the business. So for us, it's technical assistance, I think, is where that plays.
You don't need the mic.
No, I'd agree. I think there's one thing I'll separate it, make a distinction. As we're doing due diligence, we do look at the utilization of non-dilutive capital, but it takes a different way, and see if there is an awareness that they have make sure that this isn't a movement of threat. Not that but it wouldn't be a fit for
some of these other they do need to have some other investment or other capital that are going to help along.
And then the last question, and Bruce and Lavanya, I'm going to apologize because it's a horrible one. But with the likes of your Tiger Globals, your international funds kind of withdrawing from the markets, what are your sources for Series A, Series B follow-on for your portfolio companies?
Well, fortunately, I believe there are a couple of funds that are being developed, homegrown funds that are seeking to deploy capital at these stages. So we're very keen on taking on co-investors that we believe can add something to the table. So obviously the local perspective and business networks and so on that come with local funds is something great that we can also leverage. Bar that, we do look to advise our companies to seek all forms of financing that are available on the table. So, for example, commercial debt can help grow certain business models sustainably. Furthermore, venture debt as well. So effectively look at other means to help the businesses gain the capital that they need to grow. So, for example, businesses that have debt books, it's probably best to raise debt officially rather than raising equity and so on. Lavan?
Yeah, so in addition to what Bruce mentioned, I think, there is some level of creativity required and thinking outside the box. So, not just the typical funds that come in at Series A or B, but also thinking about, are there family offices you can tap into? That might be through your own, if you're a GP, you have LPs who can potentially co-invest. So reaching out to your LP networks and saying, hey, there's this deal that we want to do. Would you be willing to come in alongside of us or follow on with, aggregated in the millions of dollars potentially. So that's one way. Other family offices that might not necessarily be LPs, but just other offices that are investing or interested in Africa. Then I think the Middle East and North Africa, there are some funds, especially in the Middle East, that are still actively looking at sub-Saharan Africa in addition to North Africa and the Middle East. And so tapping into those networks, which maybe we didn't previously. And then, there's always new funds that are popping up that are focused on Africa. And so just being aware of who is investing, who has recently fundraised, who has capital to deploy, and doing syndicate rounds if it's, or maybe a co-led round as opposed to just one lead investor. So I think those are some of the ways that we can try to raise capital at the Series A.
Fantastic. Do we have time for audience questions? 10 minutes. Excellent. Okay. Fantastic. So any questions from the audience?
For them to exit, but then the end to find their expertise.
So for me, whenever I'm in this type of audience, especially with founders at the beginning of their journey, I always tell them that venture capital investors are just one source of capital. And you need to understand how VCs typically make their money. Some are much more ESG impact focused, others are full-on commercial returns. And the story that you're selling, the journey that you want to go on has to align with the investors that you're taking on. So if you want to have a lifestyle business, don't pitch to somebody that needs you to return a 15x on their investment. So you really need to make sure that the story you're telling them and the story that you believe and that you want your vision kind of aligns. Otherwise, you're going to end up in a difficult situation. And this is where it's a little bit unfair on the founders, in that we all have portfolios of investments. There could be a scenario where we lose money on 7 out of 10 deals, and the other 3 save our ass. If you're not one of those 3, then that's the life of a founder. So before you start that venture story, are you on the right bus? Is that what you want?
I think there's not much to add except really do align with the type of capital stack that you want to work with. So depending on what type of business you're looking to grow, find that type of capital that fits, and then it'll be much easier, and you won't be pulled in different ways when you're designing your product and going post MVP on your way to product market fit.
So similar thing, it's the type of investor you look for, but also to understand that, so for example, in our fund, we have limited partners who've given us money to invest, and we need to make money for them. So yes, we should be able to exit from the investment that we make. So by the time we are approaching your startup, we'll have to kind of think through what's the universe of exits and who can buy the business, and how can we make our money, and can we make the money. So I think even for you, just diligence the kind of investors that approach you. Might have a very interesting model, and investors flood to come knock at your door to invest in your business, but be comfortable saying no, because you know, like that's not the path for me. So you also be very discerning when it comes to picking your set of investors.
You have a question out there?
Yeah, I got a question.
Yeah, we do. And because by the time we come to sign the shareholders agreement, the definitive agreement, we'll have clauses that ensure we exit, right? So we encourage entrepreneurs to also have their own lawyers to go through term sheets and agreements, but we also tend to educate and say this is what it means. You have to make the environment conducive for our exit. So there are obviously the different options: the IPO, trade sale routes, or sell to another financial investor. But then also, can you buy us out, right? So, and then there are all those put options that come into play. So yes, we do inform them that, and for us in our investment process, we also identify who can actually buy that startup. And to some extent, when they're doing their diligence, we actually interview those kind of potential buyers and sound them out and say, would you be interested in the next 5 or 10 years to get into the African market in this particular space, and what kind of asset would you find attractive? So that also gives us some insights and intelligence on how to, sort of inform the business or advise them on to make yourself attractive without deviating significantly from your model. This is what this kind of players will be looking for. And internally, on a quarterly basis, we'll kind of analyze the business, in addition to the financial performance, impact performance, is exit potential. So we kind of walk through that journey, and it's not think about it once and then think about it again when you're exiting. It's really over time, how are we positioning ourselves to also successfully exit?
I was going to say, any business, any entrepreneur starts, you should think about your exit. Doesn't matter if it's VC or not. Lifestyle business, corner cafe, you should think about, how am I going to get out? What do I need? What am I going to value? So it doesn't even matter VC or anything. You should think about your exit if you're starting a business.
So we have the next question.
Hello, I got one question back here. What have been some of the examples of the most resilient companies in your portfolio in this downturn, and what are they doing differently?
Repeat the end of that question.
What have been the most resilient companies in your portfolio during this downturn, and what have they been doing differently?
You want to name names?
I can probably mention 2 companies, but it's from my previous life. I think of Wasoko and I think of Coco Networks. And effectively what these guys are doing is they're providing a product that is truly needed to generally BOP population, which is majority of the population here, and products that are needed, bar it being a recession or not. So if you're looking at Cocoa Networks, you're thinking about cooking oil, sustainable cooking oil solution. You're looking at Wasoko, it's effectively a partner for retailers to get their supplies and credit for that. So bar recession or not, these are necessary services. So they have proven to be very resilient. In some cases, actually grow through recent troubles that we've had, the likes of high inflation, COVID, and so on.
Well, he took one of ours. We're also an investor in Wasoko, and I'll say Pool Advisors. We have a few others. I think what cuts across is cash management and actually having a product that people need. And so if you don't build a business that has that, when there's a downturn, you're going to be first on the cutting block because you don't have cash management and you probably don't have a product people are willing to pay for. That's basics right there. I think everything else stems from that.
I think one more thing, though, that I would add is just really, really, really good storytelling and having a really strong vision and being able to convince investors to continue to support you despite the challenges. I think that, I can't emphasize that enough, is just practicing that pitch and really showing that you're passionate about what you're building and getting people to buy into what you're building.
I had a quick question.
My question is regarding the mandate that you have. Do you see a change in terms of mandate more towards climate change mitigation than these things as we move forward? Is it something that you consider when you invest, or this is clearly secondary and this is not part of your investment strategies?
I'll take 2 seconds. We released a climate resilience thesis, so read it. Yes, we do.
I don't think that's even outside. So, ladies and gentlemen, well done. You know what I'd like to know, I would like to know who came up with it, or the world influence come up. But what would you have said?
Come up with the thesis, we'll evolve in the thesis.
Yeah.
Well, you have to react to the market. So there's a need.
If
we're investing in solutions for the bottom 3 quintile consumers in the global south market, how can you not think about the impact of climate change on any business model, any sector?
But would you have said that 7 years ago?
No.
That's it. Let's give him a hand, ladies and gentlemen. You guys are amazing. Don't take your water wherever I have to go there. Okay, so we're going to have a fireside chat with 3 individuals. We're going to make it quick because I know it's, whenever it gets heading towards lunchtime, people start getting angry faces. Like the gentleman at the back of that. Did you see what you did? You started smiling when I pointed at you, but you had an angry face, bro. You were looking annoyed. And so we're going to be quick about it. So Turako is over here. Let's do it. We have Market Force and we have M-Post. Come through, man. Don't start sitting at the back like I didn't see you. Turako was here, right? I just saw him. Market Force. There you go. Thank you for helping me with the seats.
There we go. Turako is coming.
Turako is coming. Where's Turako?
As they said.
Where's Turako? I saw him in a t-shirt just now.
Well, I can present for both.
You can? Are you sure? No, sit down, man. No, sit.
Anyway,
grab a chair over there.
I growth story.
Sit over there. They refuse to give me a seat. They feel that I am unhealthy. So you bring me a chair, man. I have to carry my own chair. You give me a chair. All right, cool. Just grab me a seat. Okay, so what we're going to talk about is scale. But I'm going to ask you guys to introduce yourselves. You want me to sit on that side? I thought the light hits me better on this side. I'm fine with whatever. It's okay. Cool. All right, so these 3 companies have done a decent job of scaling. I've seen Tesh Babu is like Beyonce on LinkedIn. I've seen how he's doing all sorts of things. What's up with your man?
Tesh is
he's everywhere.
He's everywhere.
He's like,
we are both everywhere.
It's insane.
The one that can't be. When you scale up, you have to be everywhere.
Yeah,
that's part of scaling.
Does he actually do any work? That's another question for later. Is Turako here though? I thought I'd seen him.
Yeah, I was talking to him.
Nathaniel, have you seen him? I have the clicker. No, I don't have the clicker. Somebody else had the clicker. Clicker's, I think it's over there next to my computer. Is it the clicker is over there? No.
Okay, cool. So we're going to start with these two gentlemen. I want you to introduce yourselves. I don't want to get into any story. I want you to say, I'm from, I do. Then we get into it. And then when the Turako gentleman comes, he can continue. So why don't you start?
All right. So this is Benjamin Bruno, CEO at Marketforce. Yeah. Can you hear me well first? Yeah?
Yes.
Looks like that.
Now you're good. Okay.
I joined Marketforce 3 years ago when the company was very small. And I've been in the startup world for more than 6 years, both advising and been there leading.
So you started by advising first before you joined?
I entered the startup world by advising, yeah.
Okay.
There was a small company. I was working at PwC at the time. So they needed more financial advisor. There was a company in Kenya when I started. And that's where I understood that actually this sector was like my thing.
There he is. Okay.
I love building. I love building company from scratch, from ground up, solving all the challenges of the daily, all the daily challenges.
Yeah.
So I understood that. PricewaterhouseCoopers was nice. I had a lot of fun. I'm one of the few people that actually had fun there.
Okay, because it's hard.
Yeah.
PwC is not a fun place. It's not where you go to have
fun.
And
then the consulting there, and then I moved to.
And that was in Kenya, or was that?
In Kenya, energy sector.
All right. Okay. Cool. All right then.
Energy sector. I could work cross sector.
Benjamin, we'll come to you. Let's go. I've known you for so long. Just go.
I'm Twahir Mohammed. I'm the founder of MPost, CEO.
Yeah. Twahir has come to my house to do a podcast, which is very cool. But keep up. Did you hear how many stories he had? Can you just continue a little bit? Tell us a little something.
Started out as CTO, moved on to CEO. We turn mobile phone numbers into official postal address. We work with the National Post Office as our main partners. Currently, we are in Kenya, Rwanda, and piloting in Burundi. Yeah.
And when we spoke a year and some ago, you were like a small shop.
Yeah, we were a small shop transitioning, but now things are
a little different, just a little different. Yeah. We're doing introductions, say a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your company, and then we get into the fireside conversation.
Cool, thanks. Sorry I was late. I was doing my first Series B pitch. So
is it?
Yeah, well, more or less. We've done a couple already, but it was early. So those days, so it's time to do Series B.
We'll get into that. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Ted Pantone, founder and CEO of Turako. I live here in Kenya. Moved here in 2009 for a year, and I'm still here. Turako is a insurtech company. We focus on helping companies sell insurance to their end users. So we partner with fintechs and banks and gig economy companies to make it possible for them to get their end users insured and to get a revenue share to make it possible for them to do that and want to do that.
Nice, thank you. These three companies have scaled and are scaling mad. It's actually quite impressive. $40 million round, true?
True.
What did you do?
1.9.
1.9? You're now on your Series B, so your Series A was what?
10.
Okay, that's a lot. This is in dollars, just in case you need to be told. So that's a lot of money. But then I've got three main questions, and I really think we need to look into this, like, for real. Is it as nice as it sounds and looks like on LinkedIn, on VentureBurn, on TechCrunch? Let's just start there. Demystify how it feels like to sit on the other side of a scaling NOS boost. Benjamin.
Let me start with an example that I always say to our investors, and that's how I probably got our main investor for the round. Being in a scale-up company is like being on a plane. You take off, and you know that the engine is broken. You have half of the seats that are not there, so basically the passengers are standing because you are on MVP. So basically your passengers are standing. You have the pilot that is also the steward. So sometimes goes pilot a bit and then goes back to serve the food. And then you have the cockpit that is not working. So you don't know all the information of what's going on, but you trust that something is going on. So that's exactly basically how he's scaling up. And I've been advising a lot of companies, working a lot of startups. And it's been always the same journey. It's been almost never very smooth. It's been about breaking and how you fix all the breakages. And actually, we started as a SaaS company. We were not building what we are building today at that time. I joined the company. I'm not actually the founder. I joined a company where the company was very young. Well, we were like 10 people. Today we are around 800. And the company was pretty broke when I joined. And in the beginning, we were making some revenue, but we noticed that the SaaS model, was not scaling up as fast as we actually wanted.
Yeah.
So, do you want to hear the rest?
No. I just, it's good. You hold it there. We'll come back. So here.
I can say it's the same, especially with us working with government. For example, in Rwanda, they wanted us in before even we had the money. So we had to take our operations money in Kenya and place it there before even raising, and that's how we...
What do you mean? What, like open a bank account at BNK and then put money from KCB to BNK?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so like there is no difference now between the operations in the different countries until we settle our fundraising round.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really tough. It's like a plane without a complete control.
It's a plane mess situation over there.
It's a plane mess situation.
Pilot is the mechanic.
Yeah, and it has to be done somewhere.
What is the experience then? 2009, you say you came. What was that? Tourism? Was that family members getting married? Was that Peace Corps? Did you just happen to pass through Kenya?
Closer to Peace Corps. I was doing charity work with Gates Foundation. So,
right.
I did that for a year and then year and a half, and then started building businesses. So I built a bunch of different.
When did Turaco become?
Turaco is just 3.5 years old. So
okay.
this is very new.
Uh-huh.
I think it's the greatest job in the world. Like, the best job I ever had. It's really fun. I love the chaos that you just described.
And that's what it's like for you.
Is it the same for you?
10? Yeah, was it the same for you?
In ways, like we've got a team that's been a part of a lot of growing companies. So, and we're not in our 20s. So I think we've got some elements of stability around us that I didn't have necessarily in previous things that I was a part of. But yeah, we have an idea of where we're going every day, but every day is definitely a little bit of a mix.
So what I'm trying to do is you're just like an average startup, like everyone else in the room that is in a startup, but you just have more money than they do, and you have a better business case, or you have a better pitch deck. Like, I'm really trying to crystallize what's the difference between a company before it gets money and a company after.
Product market fit.
Product, I knew the answer. I was just waiting for someone to get it. Product market fit. So then let's talk about that. Let's talk about product market fit, and let's start again with Turaco. What makes especially in insurance, because insurance is a very dicey space, and black folk don't do insurance. We don't believe in talking about death. Tell me where I got it wrong.
Yeah, so I mean, this is the perception, is that
because what's the penetration? 3%?
Yeah, something
like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
The idea is that people have in their heads, and the idea that the insurance industry has in their heads, is that mass market consumers don't want to buy insurance, right? Yes. They don't understand it. They can't afford it. They won't prioritize it with their wallet.
Correct.
But that's not true, right? So product market fit is, I have something that people want to buy, and I figure out how to sell it to them, right? That's product market fit summarized.
Yeah.
We've done that with insurance, where when we pitch to consumers, we get north of 50% of people opting in to buy our insurance products. So that's evidence that people actually do really want to buy it.
Like, how do you, okay, because in Kenya, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'll come to the two of you, in Kenya, death is something we don't talk about. I don't know about Rwanda, Nigeria, and other African countries, but in Africa, in Kenya, I feel, Tahir, correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not something we discuss. But we do discuss fundraising for a sick aunt or a sick dad or a sick brother or whatever.
So you do talk about that.
So we do talk. Well, we talk about illness, bro. How did you get the message across in that way?
It's actually much easier than what you have in your head. Like, people understand. Insurance is very commonplace across the continent, right? It's just a product for the rich currently.
Yeah.
So it's an aspirational product. People are like, actually, I've heard of insurance. my friend down the street who has this cushy government job, he has it, or this other guy I know, he has it. They went to hospital and they were able to get seen very quickly and get good service. So you're telling me it's something that I can buy and that I can afford, it's going to work for me. That's the magic. That's where people are like, okay, this is amazing. I would love to actually be a part of purchasing this. The challenge in product market fit is you can't just go around selling stuff, right? You've got to figure out how to make that process happen efficiently, and use technology to make that happen.
So you've automated that system. Okay, we'll get into that in a bit. mPost. Of course, I want Amazon to bring my package to my door, bro. But my phone, which is with me, moves around, so that's a bit tough. How'd you figure that out?
For us, it has taken 6 years.
Say that loudly so everybody hears how long it took.
It has taken 6 years just to build the right product market fit. We started out in 2016, June 6th. We were able to do a fast pilot, which we thought we had the right fit. Not until when we did the actual launch, when everything crumbled down.
Wow.
We expected around 1,500 clients. We got 20,000 in that first day. Everything crumbled. We had.
You mean the software crumbled, or you mean like?
Oh, okay. And even the processes, learning just the postal office process and doing change.
Because 20,000 is a lot. How many people do you have on Turaco for insurance?
Just over 500,000.
500,000. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So within that point is organically we've grown.
Right.
Iterating the product, and right now we are at 200,000.
Right.
That's when we felt like this year is the right year to scale to other countries.
Yeah.
And that's how we've now been approaching these other countries, national post offices.
Did you have a fail, Ben, before I mean, not Benjamin, sorry, Ted, before there was success? Did you have this is not working, we should stop moment if I come to you, Benjamin?
I mean, COVID almost killed us, but that was when...
You would think it wouldn't, because that's kind of when everyone needs insurance.
You would think, but nobody had money, right? So
this is true. I see that.
You have to be able to sell something to make money,
right?
Or people have to have money to pay for it. So yeah, we definitely had a big downturn, some layoffs that were really sad. Everybody in the company took a salary cut.
Wow!
But we pulled together as a team, and as soon as people realized that the world hadn't ended, they were like, actually, wait, I'm much more aware of my health needs and my
post-COVID,
post-COVID kind of needs. So yeah, it actually ended up being a catalyst for our growth, even though for a little bit there we were kind of just starting a fundraising round, and it looked very dark.
I see that. Benjamin, dear God. So there we go. First it was Reja.
Reja is a product of Marketforce.
That's the one everybody, like I know, my grandma knows Reja. So okay. So take us through that little process real quick about when you got to the point, like both of them did, where you were like, it's time for us to raise some money. What was that process like? How did it look like? Because now we know that you guys were just running little briefcase organizations somewhat. You were all in aircrafts that had no engines, and the pilot was... So tell us, when did you get to that point where you're like, it's time to scale, product market fit? When did you see that?
Yeah, so our product didn't took 6 years, but 1.5. I think what's really...
Did you say your product took 6 years?
Our product market fit didn't take 6 years.
Oh, it didn't? Okay, so about 1.5.
But 1.5. And but what's interesting about the team and about all the growth, I think that we have 3 pillars that are always there in any phase, which is actually agility, resilience, and great team.
And all of
even
that,
before market fits. I think those were the 3 components that made us move few steps further to find the product market fit, because product market fit was not part of our first idea.
So those are values. They're not like things you learn in Stanford. Those are just like values, agility, great team. What was the last one?
And resilience.
And resilience. Those are all, that's great. That's character traits. Those are interesting. Okay.
Actually the mindset of the team from the beginning.
Okay.
Like the team was there. That's why agility is because we pivoted several times until we found a product market fit. It was not easy to find it. From the one we scaled, we tried different things. And then all over a sudden, when actually we found it, we started scaling up massively.
Did you find it in the way that I found my coin under the bed, or did it just land on you and you're like, people are increasing?
It went through trials.
Okay.
So the first product was a SaaS product.
Mm-hmm.
Then we realized, thanks to the SaaS product, that actually there was a bigger need in the market.
Right.
The informal sector, all the merchants, they don't have one system where to order, when to get their loan, insurance, bill pay, and all the rest services. So we say, okay, that's something that we want to try. And what happened there was something very fun. That okay, let's try it, but we don't have much time because we have very low cash in the bank. As often happens in the first stage, you are trying, your first product is not doing very well. You are still scaling, but not as fast, and you are slowly running out of cash.
Yeah.
So we went to Nevasha with the tech team, with the 10 smartest tech guys that we knew.
Okay. From the company or like just generally?
Generally, in Nairobi.
So you call homies, you're like, let's go to Nevasha.
Pick 10 smart
This is the hustle.
guys.
This is the hustle. Okay.
We went to Nevasha, to a villa. It was a villa of a founder, actually. It was empty. So we put few beds around and we sat there for 10 days. That's how Areja started.
Wow.
10 days of design implementing. And after those 10 days, actually we had a product that we could fast
put
in the market.
Yeah.
And we were believing would it be the right product, and actually ended up being the right product. That was the product.
That's the one everybody knows.
Actually, works today. So that product was born in like 10 days, very fast.
So a villa, 10 tech guys, and 10 days. Now you all know the secret. This is how to make $40 million. No, that was fantastic. I think that was a big win.
Yeah,
And did you know when the product was done in the villa that this is what we need, or did you only find out when you got into the market?
We tested something before, not the product, but we went to the supplier, to the merchant. We did some testing on the ground. Is this something that you would like to have?
Yeah.
And then we promised to a few partners. We have the product ready. That's what we promised. We launched in 1 month. We are just fine-tuning a few things.
Right.
The product was not ready.
No, absolutely.
But we found a partner that was happy to scale with us with the product that we pitched.
At where it was.
Yeah, like there was just nice.
So there was an element of relationship there that was really necessary.
Yeah, super important.
Did you have the same? Did you have like a tight situation? COVID, of course, tough. Did you have a tight situation where things were looking crazy? Apart from COVID, in terms of your product and MVP, or did you already know Turako is going to be this? This is especially as a founder, this is what it's going to do, and you went and built it and it worked.
I mean, we definitely made a lot of mistakes when we got started. Fortunately, we had enough capital to be able to work through those mistakes and kind of figure things out. I didn't have a brain trust of 10 amazing techies to help us solve that.
And a villa, you don't forget a villa. Yeah.
By the way, almost for free, the guys came.
Yeah.
We didn't pay. We were broke. We couldn't pay that.
Yeah.
We promised them good parties after.
Yeah. And we haven't made it. This is the big myth that I used to think before I had raised a big chunk of capital. It's okay, we can just get there, and then we haven't made it as a company. I keep trying to talk to our team that, hey, 50% of companies that raise a Series A don't raise a Series B.
Right.
So we still have a lot to prove. We have a lot to work on.
Yeah.
It's not like someone wrote a check that just sits in my wallet and I get to go and hang
throw
on
it
the
in.
coast.
So then as we close, because we have how many minutes left? 10. That's not too bad. As we close, before you raised capital and you scaled and you got product market fit, there's some stuff that used to keep you up at night, which I'm going to assume doesn't keep you up at night any longer. But there's new stuff that keeps you up at night. To hear, what's some of that stuff that keeps you up at night?
New teams.
So scaling stuff.
Scaling stuff.
Yeah.
That keeps me getting the right team who won't do blunders that we did back at home.
Yeah.
That keeps me up at night. And the money for scaling. I am feeling that the market is there for M-Post right now.
Yeah.
But now fundraising for that, the funds are not. I think maybe what the previous team was discussing about, it's not the right time. Guys are not getting enough funding, not as before, but those are the two things that keep me up.
Okay. So more money and new people.
New people.
That's insane. Yeah. Benjamin, 40 million is a lot, though.
It's never a lot.
It's never a lot. It's a capitalistic mindset, 100%. Okay. But that's still, it's the lowest, it's the higher side of never a lot. Like, what keeps you up at night? When the quote unquote, this is going to sound terrible, when the money is not the thing that keeps you up at night, what is the other thing that keeps you up at night?
Well, there is a problem when you have a lot of money.
A very big one.
Spending the money. Yeah. And that's what's keeping me up at night. Making sure, actually, efficiency is that how we spend the capital. We have one shot to spend the capital in the right way.
One.
Especially on the downturn, we were talking about the downturn. Mm-hmm. Now we don't have so many shots to try. Yeah. Like when you get that type of capital, you're not anymore in trial mode. You're not trying. You have to do the right thing. Yeah. So efficiency must be there. And how you spend the money is then what's the bigger headache, because you must be accountable every day on how much you spend. If you spend a bit more, why did you spend that? If you spend less, could we invest a bit more? So, and there is a big pressure between Tash and me. Tash is more about push, man.
Let's go. You're like, nah, homie.
And I'm like, no, man, wait. With this engine, we are on the flight, and we have already one engine that is broken.
Yeah.
And you already want to make another plane, and as both this plane has no engines either. So, yeah, we will figure it out. So that's a big tension between Tash and me, and it's a wonderful tension.
Yeah.
We have very long calls often.
Yeah. And are you also? I'm guessing you're also because you're on a scale. Are you growing your team?
Yeah.
How does that feel like? How does that look like? Are you having the same sleepless nights he has because of the team dynamic?
I think I have a great team today.
Yeah.
After a bit of trial hiring.
Yeah.
I think the team that I have today is a great team.
It's a great team.
I can disappear today and the company will keep flying.
You're like 800. How many? 800? How many are you now?
800.
800 people,
including the field agents. Yeah, we are going towards probably 1,000 by the end of the year.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, depends what you compare with.
Okay, that's a good point. I see yours, but still, it's 1,000 humans. That's a lot of people.
It's about mindset. The way if you compare with the 200,000 people,
no, if you look behind you, that could easily not be 1,000 people. All of those people work for you. That's insane.
In 5 countries.
Okay, that's still a lot of people. How is Turaku doing? What's the number like? What keeps you up at night?
Yeah, I mean, these guys summarized it well. The 3 things on my whiteboard at home that stress me out are: we don't work well together as a team, we spend money on the wrong things, or we spend too fast or too slow.
Too fast or too? That's interesting. Yeah. Too fast or too slow? Too fast, we can all understand. Too fast. What is too slow?
Just miss the opportunity, right? I mean, we've built a model that works, right? Unit economics work, the scale works. We're at 500,000 people. We'll be like much, much larger than that in the not too distant future. There's many other people that are looking at that model and saying, I wonder what I can do with that same type of thing. I'm not that worried about it because 97% uninsured, right? There's a lot of room to play. But
yeah, you could have 5 of these companies and still not be able to hack.
Yeah, but you, as a CEO and as a leader in an organization like ours, you have to realize the opportunity that's in front of you.
Right.
And I have seen people be like, you have to pry this money out of my cold dead fingers.
Yeah.
And we still have to innovate. You still have to spend money to make money. So that's kind of what I mean.
Cool. I feel bad that we didn't have women on the panel, so I recognize that it's a manner. I apologize on behalf of all the people here. It was my fault. We invited someone to come and 2 people, and they were not able to make it because...
Well, you didn't ask us if we were he or she or they. So we could be whatever we want to be today.
Oh, wow. That was so good.
You didn't ask us.
You don't have a comeback.
Yeah. So actually we could be she.
We could be, okay. On behappy of them. I would like to say thank you so much for listening to the gentlemen. Please, to them, please give them a hand for the time they've taken on stage.
Thank you, guys.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. Very cool. Oh wait, don't go. Sit, guys, sit. There's questions. I apologize. I didn't catch that. Okay, who has questions? I want to give this mic around. Let me see who has a question. Anyone has questions? There's a question over there. There's a mic. Somebody else with a question, so I can pass somebody on to you. Yes, at the back over there. Cool. Okay, let's go. Let's start with over there.
Thanks, guys. That was super interesting. So product market fit. What is this mythical thing called product market fit? It took 6 years for you to discover it. Investors expect it in a year. When you're at seed stage, please, can you tell us what it looks like for you?
So getting the product.
No, don't say it. When the product fits the market, don't do that to me right now. No, explain.
Okay, getting the technology to work well with the market, with customers, and ensuring that the user experience also for us was to have a smooth user experience from the technology side to the operational side through the post office, because we work with the post office. The physical mail has to go through the post office to be scanned and to get an alert. So those are the processes that we had to redesign or work through those 6 years, and to get a perfect customer experience from end to end, from when the customer registers through different channels to when they go to an e-commerce site or a government site to put their address, to when they get a notification, and to have that last mile delivery. So that is what took 6 years to figure out, and now it can be replicated in every other country we go. Yeah.
That was good. I like that. Was very. Give it a good shot. That was excellent. How did you come up with that in 10 days?
10 days was the build-up.
Oh, right. That's actually that's important to mention.
Building the product in 10 days. That's why agility was a key. I think it was a key part of the big story of Market Force. Agility. Mm-hmm. Like we were able to pivot and find a different product market fit at any point in time, and we're trying to always scout what's the next one. And going back, what is product market fit? It's when you have a product in the market and your customer wants it without you pushing for it. I think it's as simple as that. So when you see customer wanting the product and you pitch him for a few seconds and say, yes, I want it, that's product market fit. If you pass 1 month to try to convince a customer, you don't have product market fit. Or you are targeting the wrong customers. So if you are targeting the right customer, the product should sell in a few seconds. And that's why scale up happens when you have product market fit.
I have a question as we get to Rakun specifically how you did it. Does that depend on how well you tell the story of the product? As in, is it a branding issue or is it the product speaks for itself issue? Do you have a role to play in the marketing of the product per se?
Of course, yeah. Sometimes you have to force a bit of product market fit. Because at the end, in the beginning, you might be close to it, but you're not there yet because you are still building.
Okay.
So in that case, the promise before building the engine, is like actually to validate. Okay, there is someone that wants it. Then you build, you test it, and then you find the first early adopters, and then the early adopter actually validate for you, and then you are able to fine tune the model. The product for scale up.
Great.
So product market fit is not like a point. It's like you build towards market.
That's very important. Product market fit is not a point. It's like, I won't say moving target. It's a journey. That's very good. I mean, they've really laid the ground for you. Just do your Beyonce singing thing and just finish it off, man.
Yeah, I guess the only thing to add would be you can replicate it pretty easily, right? So if you go and raise a Series A, this was the point for the question we had from all of our potential Series A investors, some of which are in the room, is, okay, if I give you this money, how are you going to use it, right? Can you use it really, like, to just 100x your customer base. If you can, then you probably have product market fit. If you're like, oh, we still need to figure some things out, it's probably time for a bridge round.
Let me ask this in that way. There are some businesses that don't work well when they're small or have few users, and they work exponentially well when you have hundreds of thousands or thousands of people. All three of your companies sound like those ones, where if you told me you have 125 people using Reja 5 times a day all the time, I still wouldn't be as impressed as if you told me you had 125,000 people using Reja once a week. How did you cross that? Because that's a pretty serious divide. How did you cross that point of saying, okay, so we have product market fit because we have this many people? Or did you cross it? Real quick, because that is looking at me like I'm taking too much time. Let's go. That here, bro. Go. Tell us.
Okay.
How did you do it? How'd you do it?
That's the power of the flywheel. You need to start the flywheel. How you start is just you find early adopter, you force the first. That's why you need capital sometimes, because you want to get some traction in the beginning.
Okay. And you used the little money you had in the bank, or you went and you looked for a bridge to do that?
Went there. Actually, we used a partner. There also we used a great team.
Okay.
We didn't have much money. We used the partner was backing us, our partner. And the team was just great to execute.
Okay.
We were pretty lucky at that point.
Okay. So there's luck involved.
Lucky to find the right team. That's why great team was another source, because the team really went on the ground and hardened the first 2 months around 10,000 users.
Nice.
Which allowed us to then go build a story to pitch, and then those 10 users became from 10 to 50. To 50 to 150 and then 200.
And at what point did you get your Series A? When there were 10,000, 20, 50, 80?
There was 180.
180.
180.
What about you? What was this is the number we need to convince the person to give us money?
So 100K was our number.
100,000. Did you say that number in your mind, or did it get to that point where you're like, okay, we need help?
No, it got to that point where we needed help.
Okay.
Lucky enough, as I said, we had the government as our partner who were excited about the product, didn't have money to market it, which was also a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
So when we launched it, we had this big pump and color. Media was there. And that's why at first launch we got 20,000 users.
Right.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Yeah. Okay. And when now we started, we grew organically till 100K.
Right.
Through referrals and through some B2B partnerships.
Nice.
That's when we got to 100K, and lucky enough we went to an accelerator where we raised our Series A, which was SBC.
Okay, cool. Nice. Hey, big shout out to Startup Bootcamp right there. How did you do it?
I think it's less about a specific number than about a growth curve. Right? You have to prove that what you have is working and that you're able to manage it in its growth.
Yes.
That was what our Series A term sheets came from.
And at what point did you say, now we're ready to go for a Series A? Or here's the question, did you do it strategically? And you said, when we get to this point, we'll go look? Or like him, did you need help? Like, how did you do it? Or did you know that the next stage is the Series A, even when you had 12 users?
So I feel like we probably had product market fit a while ago.
Okay.
And this is probably true for everyone in the room, like I'm trying to get rich off of this too, right? So you want to wait as long as possible to raise money so that your valuation goes as high as possible.
Yeah.
So that's the timing that we
say that slowly. I want you to say that one more time, very slowly. Say that again.
Yeah, you want to wait as long as possible to raise money so that your valuation goes as high as possible.
That's really important. Wait as long as possible to raise money so your valuation is as high as possible. That's actually really smart. And then is when you went out and you looked for and when you were doing, now you're doing your Series B, the last question before we go. When you were doing, now that you're doing your Series B, what are you looking at?
I'm not doing a Series B to start with. Did you just
not walk from a pitch?
We just closed our A like a month ago, so we don't need the cash right now, but this is a lesson for founders in the room, is you start having those conversations as quickly as possible. So
using your Series A deck or using your post-Series A deck?
It's not a deck. That's not how you sell your business. You have a conversation with people.
That's it.
I love that.
Thank you very much. Can we go now? Yes, we can. Thank you so much, everyone. Let's give them a hand. They have done such a good job. So good to have you.